Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the Catch a Pocket Podcast. I'm your host, Lori Burris, coming to you from Wichita, Kansas, and speaking to Wichitans that are in our society and culture and loving every minute of it. This is episode 11, Christopher Gulick. He's going to talk about some wearable art, kinetic sculpture. He's an author, just all-around good guy, and I really had a great time talking to him. You can find Catch a Pocket on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Please like us, share us, tell your friends. And you can always email me at catchapocket@gmail.com. It's my pleasure to answer your questions and get you involved. I'd love to have some more guests. I'd love to have some women guests, more culturally diverse guests. If you're out there and you have a story to tell and something that we could value in our community, I'd love to have you over and have a little chat. Give me a ring. I'm here. I'm waiting. And so tonight, episode 11, Christopher Gulick. Here we go. Enjoy. Thanks for coming to the podcast, and I can't tell you enough.
Glad to hang out with you anytime, Lori, no matter whether we're working on a sculpture for your sister.
That happens.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while. All right, so I'm here with Mr. Chris Gulick.
Good evening.
He's going to talk about art with us, and he's going to talk about possibly kinetic sculpture or fashion that you're doing, wearable art now and that stuff. But first, we're going to say, were you born here in Wichita or were you
born and raised?
Born and raised. So at Wesley Hospital or something like that.
St. Francis Hospital, and I've gone to grade schools at half a dozen places all over the city and county. And
oh, so you moved a little bit while you were in grade school?
It was kind of like I was a Army brat, but we never left the city.
Isn't that funny?
Mom and Dad had a tendency to move quite a bit.
Yeah, they like to move around. So.
No, they didn't like it. They just did.
They just did it.
We weren't too happy about it either, but as long as we could make new friends, whatever new hood we were in.
Kids can do that,
yeah.
No problem. So, so you were born here in Wichita. So what was your childhood like moving around? Do you have any friends from being a kid, or did you kind of just make new friends as an adult?
Well, yeah, there hasn't been really that many. There's a few very close friends still from high school, and maybe a couple. Well, we're going to church back at the old St. Joe's Catholic Church neighborhood.
Okay.
It's down there off of Douglas near the. I always tell people, where the Shamrock Lounge is?
that little school
that
over
neighborhood.
There.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's our old neighborhood, and we're involved in that again. I went to grade school there for a couple of years, so
right.
I've got a lot of old timey friends
in that area.
Yeah, mostly acquaintances, but you know how friends are; they can kind of come and go.
Right.
And there's always a very small handful of people that are always in your life somehow or another. I'm pretty fortunate to have a pretty good size handful of really close friends that are near and dear to me, and they tolerate me. So, I'm
excellent.
good.
That helps. Yeah. That helps with friendships to be able to be tolerated.
Yeah.
After your elementary type and middle school years and stuff like that is just moving around and things, what was your high school like? What was your transitioning? Did you transition?
High school years were a lot of fun. And I've always been a motorhead since, basically since in utero. I think if my mother had not had children, she would have been a top fuel drag racer.
Do you really think so?
Yeah. She was a consummate hot rodder.
Nice.
Back to kind of some of the childhood. There were several times when my mother, when we ended up living, kind of the south end a little bit, and then over into what's now called Delano area.
Okay.
My mother would cruise the high schools, picking drag races with some of the boys there.
She liked to race.
Well, the first car I remember was a pink 1956 4-door Hemi DeSoto.
Whoa, cool.
It was a fast car, and we did a whole lot of speeding on the highway, I'm sure, and I was sitting in the back seat going, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, this is excellent. As long as you're not getting a ticket.
Yeah, I was raised around a pair of motorheads.
Okay. Hot rods. So then when you became of age, did you move right out, or did you stick around for a while? Do you remember?
A little bit of both. I think I came back around at least one point. I was there till about 18. As soon, well, when I graduated from high school, I moved out right after that.
Right.
A group of about 4 other buddies of mine, they all had this big house. Gulick, I'm moving out too. So,
right.
And
so you were part of it, like
for a while.
A house full of guys.
And when the guy that owned the house, when he moved away to California, okay, now what are we going to do?
Yeah,
well,
move back
and
home.
about that same time, I became unemployed. So, hey, Dad, can I come back and hang at the house for a little bit? Okay. And I was probably there for almost 2 months, and this kind of started into a career change.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there hanging out with my mom, having a cup of coffee and a cigarette, and she goes, what are you doing today? Nothing.
Yeah.
She goes, why don't you get up off your dead ass and go down and apply for a job at the phone company or something? Okay.
Yeah.
So I did. I walked downtown.
Right.
We lived like a mile from the core.
Because you were in Delano
and
or
I've
whatever.
lived near the core most of my life.
Uh-huh.
And so I went down there and applied for a job, and 3 days later,
Got a call?
I was at the beginning of a 32-year career.
Whoa.
Working at the phone company.
Who knew, right?
I was one of the first male operators,
Yeah.
in the state.
Right.
And there's like 10 of us guys in this office and 120 women in this massive room.
Right.
Working on these consoles that look like something from Star Trek.
Yeah, at the time, they were the most futuristic technology there was right then.
Doing all kinds of weird calls, the person-to-person calls internationally.
Wow, yeah.
Or, land to boat.
Right.
The ships.
Wow.
They needed those kinds of, we had to run those circuits. Because the company was still using cord boards at the time.
Wow, yeah.
And this was the beginning of going all circuit and all digital eventually.
Digital, yeah. Eventually. So. Wow. So that must have been interesting, and you and a friend of yours wrote a book about that just recently, didn't you?
Well, Shelley Stabe, gal, she was one of the first female techs in the state of Kansas.
Right.
And so she has a very specific perspective on how she was responded to.
She was an outdoor tech, right? She wasn't like operator. She
went straight into outside, and I transferred to outside technician work about 2 years in. And
so after your like third year, you were gone outside with the crews.
Well, I was there. I was an operator for 2 years, and then so for the past 30 years, I was all working outside. And Shelley and I worked together off and on several different crews. And ended up being one of those rare things. It's really the only friend that I've left with that we continued to develop a relationship as friends.
Right.
There was other buddies that were always, good work buddies, but we didn't keep hanging out or anything like that after we retired. But
okay.
And we'd been talking about this project for a number of years.
Right.
Well, and about almost 3 years ago now. We finally thought, if we're going to do this, we probably ought to get up and get going on it. So we made ourselves report to each other every week or so. And I'd go up there to KC, and we would hang out and go over ideas for stories. So we worked pretty hard on the whole book for 2 straight years.
Right.
And just launched the book, published it on Amazon. So we're self-published. We own our own press company called Hard Short Press. Okay. The term hard short is in reference to, that's one of the descriptions when your landline would go dead. More often than not, it was because the 2 wires were crossed, and that's called a hard short, and that's what kills the phone line.
Okay.
So we just
Hard short press. It makes perfect
hard
sense.
short press, LLC. So, and we're going through the learning curve on, okay, we're an LLC, and we have to do all kinds of things we never have to do in the private sector.
Right. I feel the same way because I'm thinking about making this a side company. This podcast, and I really haven't done that yet, and I've just kind of been winging it, and I'm like, well, I really shouldn't. If I want to go forward, I shouldn't wing it anymore. I should.
There's a chunk of paperwork that goes along with it, and so in fact, I just got back from the tax accountant today. I just walked in with a pile of stuff, and then I said, "What do you need from me? Just give me the pile. This is what we do. We'll call you when it's time for you to write me a check.
Or if we need something else, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's all about writing a check. It's always been for Phil and I writing a check. So we don't get that. Whatever people are talking about, and I just bought a lawnmower with this money, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings came from my mother, and she was a self-made private broker, realtor. Mm-hmm. Realtor, not realtor.
Right.
Isn't there a TV show? There's some TV show that talks about that? Well, in one of the little signs, she used to do a lot of calligraphy, so that she always made her own little promotional and inspirational signs.
Excellent.
And this one, I always loved it, said, "If money will solve it, it is not a problem."
That's such a realtor thing to say.
That's exactly right. If money will solve it, it's not really a problem. Now, getting the money sometimes is a problem.
That's the problem, not having the money. Okay, so when did you blossom into being an artist? Was it always a passion of yours?
Well, I know that I was always an artist, back to the in utero thing, because my mother was one all of her life. And so
like you were saying, she was making her own marketing and stuff. She
painted and sculpted and just about every medium she delved into at some point or another. She even used to, she did lots of cartoons. In fact, she was the editorial cartoonist for the Sunflower at WSU from about 95 through maybe almost 97.
Wow, that's cool.
About that time frame. And she got into it when she started going to WSU for business courses to enhance her studies for her own business, for realty. And while she was there, she thought, I think I'll take some art classes too, just for fun, to kind of keep that part of my brain going.
Sure.
And I mean, that goes into another long story about breast cancer and her right arm. Her right arm ended up going bad on her from breast cancer surgery. So she had to teach herself how to write with her left hand.
Wow.
And
that's really cool.
And the calligraphy helped with that.
Right.
Well, she met John Boyd.
Right.
At WS. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. I taught myself how to mouse with my left hand.
Oh, nice.
So when I type, I'll 10 key and use both hands at the same time.
There you go.
And people are always like, how long did that take? And it was like 3 days. It took 3 days.
No kidding.
I was so mad for 3 days. And then it's just like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
But for 3 days, it was agonizing. So I feel the pain, but...
Well, she went on for years, but meeting John Boyd out there at WSU, and he talked her into not just studying art history and all that stuff. He goes, why don't you just start doing some drawing?
Right.
For me, as her son and being around all of her evolution as an artist, I would tell you that I think her very best work was done with her left hand.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting,
My very first tattoo I ever had was actually it's a rendering of a self-portrait that she did with her left hand in charcoal.
Oh, cool.
And when she got sick again, and this time there was no turning back. And so I'm sitting there in my living room looking at this picture, feeling kind of melancholy. Oh, shit, Ma's dying.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this picture, and at that same basic time frame, I'd met a new buddy. I installed his phones for his brand new tattoo shop.
Oh,
which
cool.
ended up being the first legal tattoo shop in Wichita, Bullwinkle's old place.
Yeah, and what's his name?
Dan McClure. Dan McClure. God rest his weary soul. He
Right.
passed here a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how we got connected.
Cool.
And I went in one day with a photograph of this piece, and I said, I think I want to get a tattoo. He goes, what do you want? I said, I'm going to get a little heart with the banner that says Mom. And he goes, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this is it. And he looked at it and he goes, oh, hell yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, he wanted it.
It was
So
a
he drew you up some concepts and you...
No, he did exactly like, because the piece Mom did, it wasn't, while she was fabulous at rendering photographically correct drawings of people, it was a John Boyd homework assignment of doing a cubist rendering of the students all had to do a cubism rendering of their a self-portrait.
Oh, cool.
And
It
the
just
funny
came
thing
out
is,
awesome.
my mother did not like cubism
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, it's hard.
But she did two pieces that were, I don't know, they were probably about 24 by 36.
Okay.
Stunning work. I absolutely loved them. She was going to wad them up, throw them. I said, no, absolutely not. Well, she goes, well, you take them, do whatever you want to with them. So I had them framed up.
Cool.
And just I don't know, it seemed like the following year, right after she'd done these pieces, she got I got this email about, I think it was Bill Koch was sponsoring a Art of Seniors, or senior art show that was going to be exhibited at the Wichita Art Museum.
Okay.
I said, Ma, why don't you enter that? Oh, I don't have anything prepped. I said, well, I got these two pieces. How about those? Well,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, go ahead. So her two pieces won 2 spots in the top 10.
Awesome.
And one of the pieces, this other one, it was called Elvis Meets the Terminator. And it was another, kind of a figurative bust type of piece.
Right.
Where half of the face was a cubist Elvis, and the other half was a cubist Terminator.
Cool. Yeah.
That won the grand prize, and it was a trip to Chicago to go see the Degas exhibit.
Nice.
Yeah. And so she wins this trip.
That's nice.
And I called up my brother and said, I need you to take Ma to Chicago. And he goes, well, don't you want to go? I'm not taking my mother to Chicago. You do it. He goes, thanks a lot, man. But I'll go.
Yeah, for Degas anyway. And
just another one of those
cool
weird side stories. But
yeah.
So she was really the person who got me going on art in general.
Right. That's where you get the talent from, probably.
I think it probably was one of those genetic things.
Are you right or left-handed?
The influence. Right-handed, but which was kind of weird because the very first time I ever played baseball, I got up to bat and I was going to do it left-handed. And somebody said, well, why are you doing that for? You're right-handed. Well, I was hitting the balls left-handed.
Right.
And then when I tried to do it right-handed, I sucked.
Yeah. So maybe you are left-handed a little.
Well, there's a little bit of all those things, yeah.
Okay, cool. So so your mom was an artist, and that's kind of where you came into art, and you were working for the phone company, but on the side you were creating, or you were going to WSU?
By the time that, let's see, 1989, as quote unquote as an artist, the artist in me went into a coma about age 15. Mostly, again, back to pointing and blaming my mother. She, because she drew so well, and she tried to educate me on, okay, when you're learning drawing, you need to work on practicing on eyes, nose, ears, mouth, hands and feet, and everything else is just filler. You get those parts right, and it will look correct. And there is something between my eye. I could pick your stuff to death. I'm trained that way. But something happens between my eyeballs and my fingertips. and maybe your comment, maybe I should try doing it left-handed. Who knows? We'll see. But
maybe.
But between that and one of my other mothers, she described it as, so at about 15 is when you got the fumes. I said, fumes? What the hell are you talking about? She goes, gas fumes, fumes, dope fumes. Yeah, that's what
kind of
happened.
makes you lose your focus a little.
Oh, yeah. So, I was on a run like that for 15 years until that quit working. And,
yeah.
To shout out to all my other anonymous brothers and sisters. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But right after I decided to change up on that, we have to reinvent our lives when we're at that point.
For sure.
And the artist in me came out of a coma, and I just started working.
Okay.
Basically all of a sudden.
Right.
And I can't stop. I've tried to stop on
now
a number
it's like
of occasions.
Obsession.
Well, it's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. I mean, it's quote unquote divinely inspired or directed. I mean, I got this little birdie on my shoulder saying, "You need to go do this. This is your job."
Right.
That might be how you're making your money, but this is your job.
Right.
And somebody brought that up when I couldn't even tell you who it was. This was 15, 20 years back.
Yeah.
And somebody made the comment when they at some artsy-fartsy show and they found out I worked at the phone company. They said, "Oh, okay, well, so that's what you do for a living, and art's like a hobby or something?" Mm. And I thought, and I didn't take it personal or anything, but it made me think. I said, "No, art's my other job because I'm doing this on first shift, and then by the time I would go home, starting again with 1989." I spent all evening working on stuff.
Right.
So it made me think, what the hell is my hobby? And I figured it out sometime around not too long after that of sitting on my dead ass watching movies. Hey, that's my hobby.
That's a good hobby. I have that hobby too. I have that hobby real bad sometimes.
So, I'd always been enamored with mechanical things in general.
Right.
And so working on kinetic sculpture types of things, but my favorite flavor of kinetic sculpture is essentially the kind of stuff that Calder did because he didn't use motors and electricity. Okay. And it's not to talk smack about any of my sisters and brothers that use power to do stuff. That's not my job.
Right.
I'm supposed to do stuff that doesn't do anything but just ambiently move around.
Right, with whatever force
super simple
enacted upon it only.
Because I'm super simple.
Well, and I think that's
what I prefer, super simple
styling of that, and there's something less, I don't know, what's the word when you see people that do, and they're really cool things, but they're like animatronic almost.
Right.
And that's cool. If it's beautiful no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
That's the real point of it is you're going with what's coming out of you from whatever force that's making that happen, and you're just kind of going with that. And what you like is that classic styling of a kinetic sculpture that just moves with wind power or something of that nature.
Or even just almost more so just the visual kinetics, because there's a lot of things we will look at and we become the kinetic aspect of it because we want to move all around.
Right.
We go over here, and then we get closer, and then we go back over here. So
exactly.
And that's my challenge. That's the challenge I'm supposed to be engaging with whatever the artwork is. Cool.
So is that your main focus right now?
No. Well, a different form.
Okay.
Here, and again, I blame my darling Mrs. Cheryl for a lot of things. My favorite smart aleck remark is, "She ruined my life as I knew it." I'm not complaining, dear, as you know. But I eat too much. I stay up too late. And, but no. She got me watching Project Runway.
Okay.
And
I like that show.
It's a really well done show.
It is. It's like the Top Chef of fashion to me. I love Top Chef. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I used to love it.
Well, yeah, after we cut off our cable, we quit quit seeing it on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
But it has literally, in fact, actually, I got connected on Instagram here recently with a lady by the name of Isla Mel.
Mm-hmm.
Isla, I hope I got your name right, honey. I'm sorry about that if I screwed it up. But she, with Heidi Klum, wrote this book called Project Runway, the show that changed fashion.
Yeah.
And apparently it literally did. But yeah, it was a really well done show. I liked the sculptural process.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily a case of it was all about fashion, but it was all about sculptors making these objects that now the human body becomes the kinetic power.
Right.
Well, for many, many years, I'd been using interior design magazines for sketchbooks for ideas for my kinetic sculpture, which has always been a lot of fun. I would see this room, and in my arrogant artist mind, I'm thinking, oh, the only thing that room needs is one of my sculptures.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would draw these ideas. And while watching Project Runway and that same time frame, I started sketching on these little fashion magazine things that Cheryl would pick up periodically. And now I'm a grown man with my own subscription to Vogue and W, and periodically I'll pick up on some other odd one.
Right.
And I'm drawing the exact same things I was drawing in rooms, and I'm drawing them on top of bodies, or on some piece of jewelry, or a handbag, or a suit jacket.
Cool.
And a lot of times I won't be looking at the person, because we're vertical. And when we're looking at each other, we see the same basic shapes all the time, right?
Definitely.
You turn that upside down and you quit seeing that shape, and you respond to it differently.
Right.
Somebody laying flat looks completely different than that they look standing up.
Sure.
So that perspective of what we focus on also changes.
Cool.
And that's something that's worked out really well for me to come up. My designs, I couldn't even tell you anything other than all my design aesthetic comes from the 5-year-old kid in me that wants to just doodle on the walls.
Okay.
And in fact, a lot of my my drawing techniques come from watching my mother doodle on the phone book.
Oh, okay.
I wish to hell that we saved any of those phone books, because she was doing all the family business from the kitchen table. And while she's talking to somebody on the phone incessantly, she's just drawing lines and boxes and circles and just nonsensical, non-objective stuff on and in the phone book, because that was the piece, that was her sketchbook. Right. Was the phone book. It was crazy.
And the paper's so cool in a phone book. It's different. It has this feeling about it.
Exactly. And I had a show a few years back, and I was explaining it to one of my brothers, who's all the kids, all my siblings,
all five.
There's 5 of us, and everybody has a rather intense creative bent, and everybody's is completely different than anybody else's.
That's cool.
Gary's, his stuff is he is on the maintenance crew out at Cessna Wallace. My brother works on every single thing at Cessna except for the planes.
Wow.
And he understands the build. I mean, he knows the building is one great big living thing, and he's the doctor.
Right. That's awesome.
I was explaining to him, he was talking to him about some show I had coming up, and I was telling him a little bit about it, and I forgot what the subject was that came up that made me think of the title for the show. And I wrote it down and went, I learned to draw by watching my mother doodle on phone books. And I showed it to him. He goes, that's cool. There's your title. And so that was the title of the show.
Wow,
because it
cool.
really is. Watching my mother work on stuff is how I learned to draw.
Yep. That's awesome.
And that's all I do now. I still draw like a little 5-year-old kid.
Well, sometimes I noticed on what you're doing for a while when you were doing at the gallery. Was it Lee Shiny that you were at, or what was it?
Oh,
you
here
just
very
got done
recently.
With your,
Ruben Saunders. Ruben Saunders.
That's it.
Hey, Ruben. Hey, crew.
Ruben. I hope y'all listen to this. Anyway, I'm waving at the microphone. So,
Me too. Oh, okay, now I'm doing something else with the microphone. No.
ha ha ha. Okay, you can curse on this channel because
Blah,
it's
blah,
not
blah.
regulated yet.
Yeah,
But
yet. Ain't gonna happen.
well, as long as we're saying explicit things, it should be okay.
Yeah.
So, when you were there, you were doing the kinetic sculptures and showing those pieces. But when you were developing your piece, like you did some sort of thing online where you kind of did a part piece of making of it or the conception of it, and you like drew a few lines on a wall, and then you started building off of that.
Yeah, we installed all the boards. I mean, it ended up we took 2 4x8 sheets of plywood. My buddy Randy Crawley cut them all up into
Randy.
several different. Yeah,
Hey, Randy.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
Cut them up into 4 or 5 different shapes and sizes. But then we reinstalled them all on the wall in one great big 96-inch by 96-inch square.
Right.
And then I literally closed my eyes and took a big fat graphite crayon, and just scribbled all over the whole thing, kind of like automatic drawing. And then I stood there and just stared at it until a shape or a line came out and said, me,
Right.
do me first.
Okay, and then you just kind of addressed
So
that.
the whole thing is one constant excursion into my own little childlike and sometimes childish mind,
Your psyche.
and then build off of that.
Yeah.
Because all of us, we want to nurture that part of ourselves that is that wonderful little child that finds everything absolutely fucking astounding.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. The innocence, of humanity we want that. We
Yes.
don't get that very much, but that is a beautiful thing.
We want to maintain it, and at the same time, we also need to nurture it to be responsible.
Definitely.
And all the and to try to show some sophistication, and that's what I'm trying to do. Is
Right.
I'm looking at the thing I've done as a child. Well, that was one of my strengths. How can I make it a sophisticated thing that communicates to my adult peers?
Right. That a lot of people
It seems to be
find
working
fun.
so far.
It is. It really is. I just think the things you do are fascinating and how
Well, thank
interactive
you,
you
dear.
can
I'm
be
glad
with
you
them.
enjoy them.
I do.
I know you have good taste, so that means a lot to me.
Well, thanks. I try to be selective in art and things like that, but I like pretty general things too, and
Oh, same. Yeah.
like a hoodie shirt and a jeans is gonna be what I wear today.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to your fashion, going back to fashion, are you doing the same kind of start, or are you seeing something else? Or you're focused on something else there?
Now, what I'm going to say about the word fashion is, this is how I'm thinking about it. I'm a kinetic sculptor that is invading the fashion world.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
Technically it's called wearable sculpture. So I'm essentially, again, I'm building a kinetic sculpture in a fashion and in a new medium. This is brand spanking new to me. I'm an absolute kindergartner. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but like everything else in my life, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but here I go.
Yeah, that's
Let's
awesome.
go. Oh, I don't know how to do blah, blah, blah. Well, I know lots of professionals and very experienced hobbyists in a myriad of things. And we got this cool thing called the internet.
Yeah.
So you can just look shit up on
man.
YouTube now.
Doesn't that help?
How do I install spark plugs? Or what was that thing you were just working on? Was it on the Miata?
No, it was on. I had an old Honda, and the one of the functions of the fuel injectors went out, so we changed the O-rings on them, and we did it all through YouTube.
There you go. One of the things I did at the phone company was I was the senior tech on a crew that was birthing high-speed internet for AT&T throughout the state back in like year 2000. Well, I'd gotten this email advertisement from this new thing called YouTube.
Ooh.
Hi, you can upload videos of your own, and other people can do that. And I'm thinking to myself, what a stupid fucking idea. Who wants to look at any of your home video crap? Because it's all
right,
crap.
right. Because you're thinking in your mind, YouTube is basically people taking their VHS home recorder.
Exactly,
shit.
Which
at
it
the
was
time,
at the time.
Was,
yeah.
Yes. But it consistently, we got these phones now, and they're our video camera, and we don't want to, and it just makes and the cameras are better than the cameras I ever had as a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
yeah, and it's a whole the stuff that's changed, and we've gotten access to.
Right.
It's even kind of like the same thing with cell phones. When we first had cell phones available back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You're going to get a cell phone now?
An early adopter.
My God, those things are $5,000 each. Hell no, I'm not getting a cell phone.
In a suitcase. And,
yeah. Yeah, it was horrid.
Yeah.
But the technology development has been so radically fast.
Yeah.
That there was a whole lot of things we just didn't see coming. So
for sure.
So that said.
Okay, wearable art and fashion design. So you're taking the crux of your fashion to a place you haven't been, but you
exactly
have a good feeling about it, and you're ready, and you think people are ready to experience that, and I think they are, because I think it adds an element of, I don't know, kind of like society. When you're watching a fashion show, you sit in a chair and they're on a stage and they walk across, and there's music and there's lights. There's lots of different aspects to doing a fashion show. So, and doing an art show, same thing, lighting, but you have people instead, they're walking around the perimeter and then in the middle, or the sculptures and things like that.
There has been a lot of fashion, the fashion world and its presentation, what it's showing, what it's exhibiting has taken a radical change as well, because in all the arts, the lines are blurring so much that soon there will be no lines.
Right.
You're going to have to come up with an excuse
like that
for
about
a line.
Music, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And don't quote me up. We probably ought to look this up. I think the guy's name, Alexander McQueen.
Oh, I know Alexander McQueen.
This guy set New York on their ear by bringing in full-on sculptural aspects.
It is true.
And I didn't even know about this guy until recently, because the more I'm starting to play around on that brand new spanking thing called Instagram, that's my new favorite magazine.
So good. Like, some of the things are just mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I put that call out on people that did fashion for the internet. Is I watched a movie about him.
Oh,
and
okay.
I knew about him, but I'm like, I watched a whole movie about his life, and I thought, man, this guy was super interesting.
Yes.
He came up from nowhere. Nobody believed in him. Like, it was just insane.
With what we now know as Fashion Week in New York is also still relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
The previous Fern Alice, I'm screwing up that name.
Mm-hmm.
Was the chair for whatever the New York fashion and garment industry,
okay,
kind of like guild type of thing.
Right.
Well, she had this great idea of, hey, instead of having all these disparate little fashion shows at all the different shops and things like this, why don't we have it in one great big room?
Like a festival.
And most of her contemporaries said, nah.
Right.
Nah, I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. Well, a few big names stepped up and said, yeah, we'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Changed everything in one show. That's all anybody really wanted to do for the next 10, 15 years.
And even now, it's just become a money pit of celebrities and chefs and fashion,
But just watching
moguls.
Watching all that come in, I like seeing all those visuals. I like seeing all those presentations. So just as a patron and as an observer, I'm really excited to see some of that kind of stuff.
Me too.
And but how I ended up wanting to do that myself, kind of, it came from a myriad of different things. I've always dug fashion in general for the artistic aspect of it.
Definitely.
I like stuff that was so over the top that, it's not meant to be a practical garment.
Right. You're not going to wear this playing tennis.
Yeah. It's a costume at the very best. Well, so as I started drawing some of these, using these sketchbooks, Vogue for a sketchbook, I think we could actually build that. And then to credit another longtime friend of mine, Janet Riddell, she was part of the children's educational department there at Wichita Art Museum for a number of years. And her and I just used an excuse to get together at my house and work on jewelry-ish things. So that's how mine started, was taking some of those designs and turning them into something that could be loosely misconstrued as a belt or a necklace or something like this. Then it continued on with more garment-ish looking things. And I should build some of those. I can't build that crap. I don't know how to sew.
So are you sewing them?
I'm the worst kid in the kindergarten class right now, but I am learning how to stitch together some things. After going through for about better part of 3 to 4 years, looking for somebody that was available and had time and had interest in my designs and would want to help train me and help me work out the problem-solving learning curve. I ended up meeting up with Alicia Ibarra, who's the proprietor of Vanya Designs.
Oh, cool.
We met up at an estate sale.
Wow.
And oddly enough, at the estate sale of, I'm going to screw up this lady's name, dearly departed woman. She ran the college dressmaking college down there on South Hillside, just barely north of Harry. You've driven by the place 1,000 times. It was this super fancy 70s, 60s era, mid-century modern house up on this hill.
Okay.
Just barely west of St. Joe Hospital.
Yeah.
Well, so we're at this. Anyway, I went to go see the house because another buddy of mine told me, you got to go see this house. Okay, I got to go see this house. And it was stunning because it was all 100% original.
And this is where the estate sale was happening.
That's where the estate sale was. And because this was an old dressmaking school, I thought, I wonder if they got any of the study drawings or sketches or anything that would have been paper or whatever. Because that's part of Wichita's art history as well. Our creative history is massive. And it touches into all kinds of stuff.
Sure does.
So
that's kind of the concept of this, it's
absolutely.
kind of documenting the immense amount of talent in this city.
You're a historian here.
Yeah, I am.
We're trying to just keep up with some of this stuff, and it's getting harder to keep up with it, isn't it? Well, I ended up finding this set of drawings. It was 17 drawings all laminated together. I mean, it was like like came out of a ream. So all these pieces of paper, 17 pieces of paper, all laminated together. But it was all the same pen and ink drawing of Barbara Bush.
What?
With 17 different gowns drawn on her.
Oh my God! Was that her inaugural dress or inaugural?
Inaugural. Yeah, something close enough.
I almost had it.
Yeah, okay. We don't need to apologize for our Plains States accent.
Yes.
But one or two of them, I thought, I think I've seen that gown.
Whoa.
Anyway, so I ended up picking up these, and I'm holding on to these. And as I'm walking around, Cheryl and I are walking around through the upstairs now. The whole school was in the basement, massive basement. And this young gal walks by. She goes, "Oh, I'm so glad somebody got those." And I said, "Oh, thanks. I'm working on this wearable sculpture project. I build kinetic sculpture and stuff, and I'm trying to turn them into garment-ish things. And, but I'm having a hard time finding somebody that I could subcontract to do custom work, and somebody that builds costumes or builds gowns and things like this." And she said, "Well, I do that." Well, I'm kind of a curmudgeon-y old guy too, and I'm thinking, okay, when some young pup says something to me like that, I go, Really. Are you trained? Do you suit up, show up,
Right.
produce, and
Yeah.
deliver? And she got about a foot closer to me
Oh, wow.
and said, "Yes, I do." And I thought, well, cool. She's not some little wilting flower that's going to,
She can stand for herself.
Yeah, she can stand up to the cranky old bastard.
Uh-huh.
And
She might have a chance.
exactly. I said, well, do you have any pictures? Yeah. And she starts showing me pictures of these custom gowns.
That she made?
She builds whatever you want from the ground up.
Wow.
This is not a buy, sell, resell thing. This
Right.
is, I'm going to take your dreams and turn them into a garment.
It's true.
We ended up meeting up. I saw her work, and I started showing her my designs, and she found them to be of interest, which is, that's what I need somebody to.
Right.
So we did a studio visit at her place and my place, and
Cool.
it just went straight into, this is the very first full-on collaboration I've ever done
Right.
with another artist. I've
Wow.
worked for other artists, and I've worked around other artists, and I've
Sure.
done stuff with artists, but never an actual collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So it's turning into a case where she is building the functioning standalone garment that will then be the plinth or the base for the sculpture that I'm building.
Okay.
And I've subcontracted a lot of her sewing skills because I can pin stuff on. Okay, I want this whole thing to be laid out like this.
But she knows how to do it.
She knows how to use a sewing
Okay.
machine and not break the sewing machine and not make the thing look stupid.
Right. Not have string going everywhere.
She's trying to show me. I'm hand stitching a whole lot of stuff, and I did a whole bunch of zigzag stuff that
You were
only
happy
sucks
about?
a little bit, but it's okay because it's for this particular thing I was working on. It's okay if that looks like it sucks,
Yeah.
because it's supposed to.
Yep.
One
That's
of
a
those
good thing about art.
I meant to do that.
I meant to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's supposed to look like that. So that's
And now we've got this project coming on. It started with, she scheduled an event that was going to be at Abode called Fashion Avant in this coming September.
good. Is the
well,
road closing?
Abode's closing in
Oh.
August. Well, fast forward to a couple more phone calls, and now the event's going to be at Eric Fisher's Academy
Oh, wow.
because they have a full-on runway venue.
Oh, that's right. That's where they
Yeah.
do the the AIDS. What's it called? I don't know. But they do the hair for,
Yes,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? And
all their students, that's where the students themselves,
they do
make
the
use of
crazy
the runway.
hair.
Oh,
I
it's
love it.
Yeah,
I love
off
that
the chain
too.
kinds of stuff. Well,
Yeah.
one of the gals there, Bailey, she came down to the studio to take a look at my sculpture,
Yeah.
and she walks in, and I was very, very flattered and very grateful that she responded well to it. She's enjoying it. She goes, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Well, I want you to just do your job. You're an artist too, and how about you just look at what you're seeing, and then you respond to it." And do
In your
whatever
way.
the hell you want to.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, really. I don't do this diva artist crap.
Right.
It's annoying.
Your colors have to match.
So, and now the whole program is just, it's fleshed itself out.
Cool.
Alicia started the process because it was meant to showcase her business.
Right.
That's it. This is a commercial venture.
Right.
And then her and I meeting and our collaboration working out for us, and it's been working out really, really well. The relationship with all of it has been fabulous. And also Aida Stenholm, we met her recently. If you're familiar with her at all, a shout out for Alicia.
Definitely.
She makes shoes.
Wow. That's cool.
She
She's
doesn't
a
just
cobbler.
decorate them. Remember C Majors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's in his old shop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's in Cliff's old place, and
saw
it's
that
still got
handmade
that
shoes.
super creative vibe when you walk into the room.
Nice.
Only you're seeing this lovely Peruvian woman who is killing herself making all kinds of shoes and a whole bunch of round handbags with the Wichita flag Hogan symbol right there in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
Got to go see those.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll shout out
So
for
that's
her.
right there on Douglas and Hillside.
Yep.
Okay.
Right there. And so she's going to be part of this particular event as well.
She's going to show some of her art, or she's providing the shoes and that kind of thing too?
And how and what she's going to be doing exactly, not 100% sure.
Okay.
Because Miss Alicia's the boss on that. But I'm very currently, just this week, working on one of my pieces that needed a purse. Specifically, I was just thinking, because the drawing that I'd done was this lady holding this brilliant, bright yellow clutch. And I drew over and on top of that. I thought, I'm going to make this a little more practical. And after meeting Aida, I went, oh, maybe I could talk her into making a purse.
Yeah.
So I walk in there yesterday afternoon. I meant to go in for about 5 or 10 minutes and just start the conversation. Hi, would you be interested in hiring to just make this super simple little thing for me? 3 hours later, her and I have come up with a completely different game plan.
Oh, cool.
And are building something that's not even remotely square. It looks like somebody beat up a great big egg. And so we are both very impressed with ourselves right now. And it's going to be fantastic.
Cool. I can't wait to see it.
So another aspect of that. And Lauren Mercado with HPLA, handpicked Los Angeles.
Okay.
Her and her retail store are also going to be part of this whole presentation.
Wow.
So it's gone from, well, are we homeless, to, hey, we got a fantastic place at a fantastic place to do it, and
group of artists.
We're all very excited about it.
Well, it sounds like you put a lot of work into it so far, and it's going to happen in September.
Got a ways to go. Yep.
Do you know early September, late September?
Don't quote me, but I want to say September 27th, but I couldn't even tell you. I don't have one of the cards with me.
I can post it on when I put this on. I'll just put a link to.
It's on Facebook, and it's called
Facebook.
Fashion Avant.
And a link
it's
to
on
that.
Instagram and on Facebook.
Right, and also your book, which is I Got a Pole You Can Climb.
I've got a pole you can climb dash Tales of a Telephone Technician.
Okay, and I'll put a link to that and where you're selling it on Amazon. No problem.
Amazon, paperback and ebook.
Yeah, I went to your opening on that at Wham, and it was great. I mean, you had a great crowd. And
we didn't sound too much like Booger Eaton Cans and Hicks, did we?
Oh no, I mean, not even. I mean, people can sound very intellectual and pretentious. You guys weren't that. I'll say that. But
we write like we talk, for sure.
And that's what I understand. You listen to me, I kind of draw my R's and stuff.
And that's
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we
I'm from Kansas.
People say, so what accent? Oh, I was in Kansas City here about a year or so back, and I forgot where the hell we were, at some restaurant, and I don't know who I was talking to. But this lady looked at me and she goes, "Are you from the South?" And I paused, and I looked at her, and I gave me that stupid grin. I went, "South I-70 and North I-40.
Oh.
And she didn't know what the fuck I was talking about.
Yeah, but you guys were laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Because South of I-70 says it all, because we do have that twang,
Yes.
So, okay.
We are the people of the South Wind. Thank you,
really
Kansas.
We really are. But I dig it, and I love it here. I think it's beautiful. So, well, is there any other thing that you want to acknowledge right now, or any kind of words of wisdom you want to leave us with?
No, you know a lot more. There's a lot of well-read people that can tell you all that kind of stuff. I can tell you my opinions about a lot of things, but who cares?
Well, we care. We care, You care. We're all walking along in our own self-made movie. And, it's nice to have a movie.
Here's probably the smartest thing I can say.
Okay.
We are all in this together, and nobody gets out alive.
Isn't that the truth? Is that Bob Dylan?
Shit, I don't know where I got that. I couldn't tell you. I think I heard it from some cranky old timer. Yeah.
Well, That's a good way to go. That's a good way to go out, Chris. Is there anything else you have coming right away in the future?
What are we doing? Let's see. We talked about motorcycles earlier.
Motorcycles?
So, yeah, motorcycles and old antique sports cars and art and dead folks and
brothers and sisters and not too much. You didn't get into your family too much, but yeah. That's all right. It's okay too. That's okay too. I kind of tend your way. I mean, even though my sister is a big inspiration for me.
Oh, she's a big inspiration for a lot of folks.
And, and just kind of showing.
Lisa's the stuff.
Lisa's the stuff.
I adore that girl.
I do too.
And my wife knows I do.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah. It's okay. You've got wife's permission. Sure.
Yeah,
Cheryl's
absolutely. Well, and I always tell Cheryl, I said, yeah, honey, I do have a lot of gal pals. I said, all my gal pals tolerate me because they love you. And she'll just laugh.
Yeah, because she knows it's true. She's got the winning personality, right? So, is there anything, here's a good question. Is there anything that you ever regretted? With your art. With your art. I don't usually tend to go to the negative.
That's not my responsibility or privilege.
Right. So there wasn't ever like a life lesson that came along. Well, of course, everything is a life lesson, but
one of the worst ones was the working on the Kansas leader. When I say worst, it was. There was a couple of things that happened. The Kansas Leadership Center building. Mm-hmm. One of those massive privileges. If anybody's not been to the Kansas Leadership Center down there at Topeka, corner of Topeka and Douglas, it's the first new building built in Wichita in the past over 40 years. Mm-hmm. Brand spanking new building on a clean piece of land.
Downtown Wichita.
Yeah, right across the street from, I still call it the old Bank 4 building.
Mm-hmm.
Ruffin owns it now, but it's the one that has the monumental Calder in it. Mm-hmm. And we are very privileged in this town to have a monumental Calder. Places like Chicago and New York and Washington, they have monumental Calders. Right. Little old Wichita's got one too.
Yeah.
Well, I got to build a 16 by 8 foot kinetic piece for the atrium of the Kansas Leadership Center directly across the street from my hero.
Oh, wow. So when you were building it?
While we were building it, I built a maquette, and then it was going to be a piece of cake. Okay, we just do our algebra. Yes, people, you needed to know algebra. Yeah. Okay, so I was doing my algebra, and so we can just hand off the measurements, and the guys there in the metal shop were doing all the heat work. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to weld.
Fabrication.
Don't care. Don't need to know anymore.
You need the algebra.
So they're running the heat, and I'm doing the physical bending with another one of the guys. Mm-hmm. We got about a quarter of the way into the build and a quarter of the way into expensive materials, and I woke up from a dream, or I woke up in the middle, first thing in the morning, yelling "fuck" and scared the shit out of Cheryl. She goes, "What? What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
"My math, it's wrong." And I was freaking out because I measured everything. I made this 16-foot diameter circle. I drew it on the floor of the metal shop so I could just work right there on it because that's my airspace and I could just bump right out to that. Yeah. But my piece,
right?
If you were to look straight up at it, it actually occupies a square.
Oh, yeah.
I was building it too big. And I had to throw away better part of $1,000 worth of materials and better part of a week's time.
Oh, man. So how do you shake that off?
Oh, I showed up at the shop, and
keep trying.
We were doing this at my buddy Roland Karg's metal shop, and I walked in. I'm telling this story. He just sat there and sipped his coffee and was laughing his ass off. He goes, "Yeah, get used to it. Shit will happen again."
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my God, I hate that. Anyway, but So yeah, that was one of the
Excellent.
screwiest, oh my God, screw ups.
Right, waking up from a dream because your math came out in your head correctly.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's a great story, Chris. I mean, for a learning lesson, life lesson, that's good.
Measure
Not at
four
the time.
times,
It
cut
sucked.
once.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a great deal to have to go through, though. But now that it's over.
I feel
Okay.
bad. I mean, I know a lot of ceramicists.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine working on something for a day or a week and putting it in the kiln and having it explode.
Yeah.
That would kill me.
Yeah. I'm sure it hurts some feelings sometimes,
Oh my
especially.
God! But they keep doing it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but that's all right.
Yeah. I've seen it happen a million times over there. So, do you have any other plans for projects?
Well, this wearable thing,
Yeah.
seem to be so focused on it. I'm digging my new job.
I like
Now,
it.
we don't have specific plans yet, but our strategy is this collection we're building right now is going to Fashion Week in New York,
That'll be awesome.
2020, if not 2021.
Yeah. Excellent.
So we're getting ready to start working on we're making a few connections already. The
Sweet.
gal I mentioned earlier that wrote that book, we've touched base with her about a little coaching. Said, yeah, let me know when you're ready to talk. So it's just about time for us to work up a strategy game plan and present it to her. Go, okay, now where do we
goes
want
where?
to? Yeah, who goes where? Who do we talk to about getting into a show?
Excellent. Well, we wish you the best
Thanks,
for
love.
this show, and I hope that I do see you on the runway at Fashion Week and you take a selfie or something so that we can see it. I'll
You
definitely.
should come out.
I've
If we do it, you should
never
come
been
out.
to New York City. So.
Oh, do you like big cities?
Yeah, I like to visit.
Oh yeah, I love. I've been able to go to a lot of big cities, and which is kind of funny because I never, until I was considerably past 40 years of age, I'd never even seen salt water.
Oh wow.
I didn't care. Everything I really ever wanted to do was right here at home.
Right.
And
You were
I've got to
content.
do all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Met Cheryl and got the travel bug.
Right.
But New York's an absolute blast. But all the big cities that I kept, it'd be so cool to live here. Yeah, except for that part where it wouldn't be cool to live here.
Exactly.
Which is
Like
why
if you have
we
an
like it
idea,
here.
yeah. Sometimes you can go to the movies here and there'll be 8 people there.
Yeah.
You can't do that in New York. Any movie.
No.
You know,
no.
if there's only 8 people there, I think they just kick you out and put a new movie on or something like that. I'm serious.
Well, in getting around
Yeah.
in large cities, it's laughable that anybody ever bitches about how long it takes to get somewhere in Wichita.
Right.
You're 20 minutes tops from anything.
I am. Even here in Park City, which we're in South Park City, but still, it takes me 12 minutes to get to work. When I lived 3 blocks from work, it took me 7 minutes to get to work.
Oh, yeah.
And I only got like 20 miles to the gallon because it was all stop and go. And now I'm getting like 35. And it's okay. I got used to it now.
It's a piece of cake around here.
Yeah.
Now walking to get to stuff, that's kind of a pain in the butt because it seems like we have to drive everywhere. We're spread
do.
out enough.
We way spread out. I wouldn't want to walk anywhere from here, I don't think, except for maybe the pond or something. We
There
walk
you
the
go.
dog, around this area, but otherwise, nah. Weren't you one of the founders of Final Friday?
I was a member of the Famous Dead Artists, and essentially they started the whole
And who
process.
was all the famous dead artists? You remember?
Oh yeah, let's see. We got Hampton, Wade Hampton, Mark Bosworth, Lee Leighton Wallace, Jenny Wallace, Pam. Oh, good Lord, all of a sudden I
I
forgot
put you on the
Pam's last
spot.
name. Pam Terry,
Okay.
Kurt Klontz, Scott Steele, Brad Reuter, excuse me, Brad Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, Brad Hart. And me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
And that
it.
was the
How many?
famous
Was that like 9 or
And
something
you guys
like that?
started that just for a format to
Well,
express what you were
I
making?
forgot. I think it was like Mark and Wade and maybe Brent Miller at the time. Brent Miller is really the one that came up with the term Final Friday anyway.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was basically his idea. And we were just talking about this weird idea of, hey, what if we were just like once a month we'll stay open late so people can come up and see us. What are we gonna do? Stay open in an old gallery in downtown upstairs from a bar? That's a stupid fucking idea.
Yeah.
Who the hell we're gonna want to do that? And which consequently, names shall not be divulged, but there was a lot of resistance from our peers outside of this particular collective.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
they're looking at us, and they had the same response that I kind of did at the beginning. Well, I don't know, man. That sounds like kind of, who the hell wants to do that? And so
Right.
there was this resistance of why would we want to spend our weekend night
Uh-huh.
waiting around to see if somebody wants to come look at our art?
That makes... I get what you're saying
You
there.
know,
'Cause
the entities,
who wants to listen to me? That's what... I mean, my first
yeah.
response for something is...
25 years later, it's a thing.
It's a big thing, you know, and if
And
you
now we're discussing should it be Final Friday or First Friday?
Oh, yeah, that's new.
Well, as I remember the conversation, and I don't know if Bosworth remembers this or not, but somebody made, Kansas City does the first Friday, and they've just been doing it for just 2-3 years before that, before we
Okay.
started in with our gallery crawl.
Right.
And Mark and I had actually gone up to Kansas City a couple times just for this kind of stuff. And well, one of them screwed up, so we can't go to First Friday up in KC.
Right.
And then somebody brought up, well, we could do it the last one. And then Brent, I think, chimed in something like, well, we call it Final Friday. Hey, we're done.
Yeah.
There you
in
go.
a meeting.
Yeah. So
That's cool. So that way you don't ruin the KC First Friday, and maybe no one's really brought that up to
Right.
people on the city council or whatever. You know?
well, I one of the points that was made in the paper, I think Kurt Klontz made the comment about it, that, and this is kind of back to the math aspect of it, the last 3 months of the year are all holidays at that time frame. And who wants to do a show at the worst 3 months of the year, which should be some of the top one, if you do it at the beginning of all those months.
Right.
That's the beginning when people are starting to spend money on stuff.
Right.
Well, just for that one comment alone, it made sense for me. I went, yeah, okay. Yeah. It does. It just makes dollars and cents.
Exactly. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm in.
So yeah, you're in for First Friday to change it over,
No,
or whatever.
we're going to have both.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause
what
you
I'm
can
seeing
have
is going
Final
to be
Friday,
happening.
but then have First Friday.
Some will do first, some will do Final Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I think the businesses that got in on our gig, bars and restaurants and other pastry shops, not divulged,
Yeah. Yeah.
that they're going to continue to go with it, because a lot of the new artists that need to get their feet wet and learn more about how that's to be done, they probably need to keep doing that just for the experience.
Right. Because every
So-
bit of practice helps.
Exactly.
And you get to learn how to talk to people and about your art and express your feelings about your art. And that's a lot of what being an artist is being able to convey what you want to who you want when you want.
We all need those people skills to begin with. On one aspect, I honed all that. I'm terribly shy and horribly insecure.
Yeah.
So I rail against it by doing the exact opposite. And after most of my life in some sort of customer service type of industry, I can talk to complete strangers, at the drop of a hat.
And if you work so long on a piece while you're doing it and while you're thinking about it, you're thinking about what you're going to say at some point to someone.
Absolutely.
That's part of the process.
It is.
Oh,
and most of us are process junkies anyway.
Yeah.
When we're done with that thing, okay, that's cool. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
Somebody go sell that for me, please. Bring me back cash. And because I'm halfway into something else entirely.
Right. That's what I think with musicians. It would be so hard to me is to play the same song for 50 years, and still be jazzed about it somehow. But
I can
mean,
do that
I get
while
it.
I'm playing, air guitar. I'm still jazzed about whatever that song is. But yeah, you're right. If you're the performer, and I'm kind of the same way. There's been several of other artist friends that actually make money, but a lot of them are. For me, some of their practices have become manufacturing,
right?
And they found this fantastic thing that they did that everybody wants one.
Right.
They've been making it the same thing for years.
Yeah, and
that would kill me.
That would kill me too. I'm like you. I'm on to the next thing. And like when I do these podcasts and I edit them, I listen to them a lot of times. I'm listening to something over and over and over again until it makes sense where to put something else.
You're sculpting the words.
Exactly, and I'm doing it as quickly as possible so that it can sound good, but also be in a timely manner,
and so it doesn't drive you nuts.
Right. But once it's gone, I'll listen to it one more time somewhere, whether it be at work or laying in bed or whatever, and then I'm off that and on to the next one because I have to go. And so
Shelley and I have read our book a dozen times minimum.
Right. So you're not going to pick it up and probably read it right now.
No.
But it's a very good book and very good stories.
Well, thanks.
And your art is fantastic, and I just love kinetic sculpture.
I'll shout out to Graham Jarvis, illustrator.
Yeah. In your book? Yeah. There's some. How many illustrations in that book? 10 or
17?
17.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like pen and ink kind of thing.
Yep. His figurative work is fantastic. It's got just enough comic bookish style to it to make it just even that much more fun.
Yeah, fun.
But it's all his figurative work is, the perspective is correct. People look like real people. They don't just look like somebody with extended arms and crap. The superhero looking thing. It's none of that bullshit.
Yeah.
His stuff is dead on, and he was able to pull off a lot of. We would describe to him what was going on in the story, and he would pick up on that vibe.
Okay.
One of my favorites was one of Shelley's stories where this little kid, he's like 4 or 5 year old kid, comes to show Shelley his dad's gun.
Oh.
And this kid's pointing this gun at her while she turns.
Wow.
Oh, hi, honey. Oh my God. So
Right.
and this close up view of Shelley's face flipping out, and this little kid's got this big shit eating grin while he's pointing this shotgun at her head.
Right.
And then this one where I'm standing on this pole, but the story is about the disparity between these 2 yards. This one is immaculate. It's got the clean swimming pool, and this other one here, the guy is hoarding pit bulls and dead cars, and it's an absolute shithole.
Right.
But the first thing you see is the very top of the phone pole.
Yeah.
And it's looking down, so it's got that whole perspective.
Oh,
so
nice.
his ability to pull off perspectives of view is fabulous.
Nice.
Yeah, it's worth just looking through the book for that.
If you don't have it, go out there and get it. And I'm leaving the link to the I Got a Pole You Can Climb.
Currently, it's also on sale at Watermark Books.
Excellent.
And starting this coming Monday, it's going to be available at Vortex Souvenir there at Revolution.
Revolution. Yeah, we went there for the first time just the other day.
Cool place.
Yeah, neat place. A lot of potential.
They've done a lot of neat work there.
That's off of Central and Volusia, so there's hence Revolution.
Yep.
All right, so thanks for coming in, and we're gonna wrap it up.
Thanks for having me.
And I really appreciate you coming.
It's
always fun. And best of luck to the future. Keep in touch. And
thank you, sister.
Thanks for coming out.
All right.
Later, y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Gulick, for coming on out to the Park City and giving us a nice interview. I had a swell time with you. Anytime you get a chance, please go out and share and like your local artists. They need your support just as much as anyone does. And thank you for listening. tonight. Special thanks goes out to Phil and Fletcher for helping me with the technical aspects of producing this podcast. Jeff and Zach Tuttle, who took pictures that I use on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Podbean app. The Podbean app, I can't forget you because you support and host me. So thank you so much, Podbean. And Kirk Runstrom for the music, Lisa for allowing me to use it on the show. I'd also like to thank anyone who supports this podcast and takes the time to give it a listen. I hope you all catch a pocket you can be proud of. See you next time.